Hi, this is Amy, and I'm part of the Learning ReImagined Network. And today I've got Alexis Nordin with me. She is one of our members of the network. She's created some awesome content for high school age kids. So I'm going to pass it over to Alexis to introduce herself, and then we'll go into a bit of what she is offering. So, Alexis, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you doing?
Good, good. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll introduce myself. I'm Alexis, or you can call me Lexi too. That's more casual. Yeah, I do high school coaching for students who are doing self-directed or online school to help them walk through the process of working through their credits or helping them manage their time and staying like self-determined and yeah, working with just creating a more cohesive flow throughout your studies because it can be very isolating and hard. So I try to build communities and bringing other students who are also doing online or self-directed together so that they can start to build their own like study groups and book clubs and things like that, which might sound silly, but I think that it does help a lot, especially when students are doing online and they can be alone at home all day long, like whether their parents are working or whatnot. So yeah, my goal is to kind of bring other students together so they get to meet, as well as through my coaching, I hope to bring a little more clarity to some of the systems because I was a online student and a self-directed student for all of my high school experience. And so I have done it and I know what it's like. So yeah, my goal is to just help students walk through that process a little more smoothly.
Cool. And so could you tell us a bit more about your own personal experience with doing that online self-guided learning and how it brought you to where you are now offering this assistance to kids?
Yeah, absolutely. So I originally grew up homeschooled, and then in high school, I started doing self-directed studies, which I absolutely loved. Like my learning experience, I was a big fan of it just because I was able to really target it into very specific things that I wanted to learn. And one of my things is I can literally make anything school. So you can make a study about like tacos into school. You can make it a CTS course. You can do a study on different ingredients in a history and write an essay on it. So literally anything you can make it into school. And so things that I was interested about, I was able to bring them into subjects and do it that way, which I really enjoyed. I also did take a couple online courses as well, just through like an online school. And they were really great, but I did find that they were very isolating because you didn't talk to any other students at any time.
Mhm.
And talk between your teacher was just through email normally. And so it was just kind of like doing a self-directed course. But I think there's this idea that when you do online school, that you're going to be able to have a community of some sort, which there isn't really. So yeah, the reason I'm doing the coaching now is because my siblings are also in school, and I realize that sometimes it can be really lonely when you don't have the supports, and especially through, I think, COVID as well. People are more isolated than before. And so I think there needs to be ways to just bring people together, and community, I think, really, really changes, even just like mental health wise. It's like proven to be better for you if you have community and people you can talk to. So yeah, my goal is to bring people together. And that's why it's just because I know what it's like to sit at home and not necessarily have people you can study with or chat to or ask about problems together and solve them. So yeah.
Cool. So let's get into some of the specifics about what it is that you are offering. So maybe you could break it down for us, tell us kind of in categories what it is you have available for kids.
Yeah, absolutely. So currently, I have a program that I'm working on specifically for online students that I am approaching. It's just a beta project, so that one's on the side. But other than that, I offer specific coaching for students. And then aside from that, they can join into the group ones. So I can offer them one-on-one, and then they can join in on our group programs. I don't have too many students currently just because it's starting out. And yeah, again, this one's also a beta project. So I'm just weeding out and trying to see what works and what doesn't. Because yeah, I think that we can all grow and learn, and I'm not too stuck in any like way or pattern. So yeah, I'm offering specific coaching to students and then also a community aspect as well to bring other students together.
Okay, so let's take the specific coaching. Could you give us an idea of what that looks like? What's kind of the structure that that might take?
Yeah. So my original coaching, the coaching that I've done in the past is a one-on-one, and there's different yeah, there's two different categories I have. I have one where I work very specifically with you, so we can chat and you have access to me like any time of the day, basically. So you can email me and we can chat. I normally have the student's number as well, so they can send me a quick text message if they need like help with anything. That is specifically for self-directed studies. So I help them walk through that journey of just explaining how to do proposals and CTS courses and all of those things. And yeah, walking through that. We also have I have a meeting with the student every Monday morning, or on Monday that like time that works well for them, and then every Friday, just to have a start for the week, try to bring some guidance for it, and then we have a recap on Friday. So we go over all the things that they did accomplish, and then we're setting them up for the next week. So that's kind of the specifics. Normally those conversations last between half an hour to like 45 minutes, just to help them, yeah, get more prepared for the week or ask the questions that they need to. I'm not a teacher, so I can't teach them anything, but I can give them guidance and help them walk through the process that I have done. So I know what it's like, and I have a very good understanding of those systems. So yeah, that's kind of what that one is. Yeah.
All right. So say there's a kid who's, they're high school aged and, they just recently started homeschooling and they're doing some courses online. How would, if they contacted you for like coaching one-on-one assistance, and that's kind of like the stage that they're at, like they've got some online learning, but some homeschooling, they're just starting out with high school. What would be some things you'd need to know from them to figure out how you could assist them?
Yeah, I originally have, once a student contacts me, I originally have like a setup meeting just to see if we're a good fit too, because I think it's really important to connect with the person you're working with. So that's like a free consultation. We just like, we chat, we talk about what their courses they're in, and if I can help them in any way. Because if I don't think it's going to be valuable, obviously I'm going to say, hey, like, here's someone else I would recommend. I think you need a tutor, like with that wise. But generally the questions I would ask would be, what courses are you in? What are you interested in? Because I think if you are doing self-directed studies, you really need to let your interests guide you. Otherwise, it can feel very overwhelming. Because for one course, you'll get a page that basically tells you everything you're supposed to do for the entire course, which isn't a lot of guidance. So I help students walk through how they can create that into something that they would like to learn. Like, let's just take English, for instance. You have to do something on Shakespeare. Generally, students only think that requires like reading Shakespeare, but it doesn't. You can watch a movie, you can actually see a live play, you can listen to a musical of a Shakespeare play. So there's lots of ways that you can integrate it, and then you can do a project on it, or you can write an essay. There's lots of different ways that you can do just one specific thing. So I help students kind of walk through that process of breaking down what the outline is, walking through how they can submit their proposals, and then sending that information into a catalog of something that they actually find interesting.
Cool. And do you work with kids just from specific countries, or can you adjust it to wherever they're living?
I can adjust it more so for like high school coaching, I would say. Self-directed is hard, just even in other provinces as well, because they all have different rules and regulations, obviously. So because even in Alberta, we have diplomas, and in BC, we don't. So it is a little bit different. I can definitely still do coaching. It just they're not all going to be the same, right? Because they require different things. I have done coaching to students outside of Canada and in different countries. And yeah, it's more so been on like guidance and students who maybe struggle to find momentum or stay like organized. Because I think the hard part with online or self-directed is that your parent has now become your teacher. And that relationship is really hard to manage sometimes, because the parents don't really know when to turn to teacher or parent mode, and the students don't as well. So I think that sometimes I've seen with my students can cause a lot of strain in their relationship. So I'm kind of the middle ground in that way, where the parent has something they want to address with their students. I can talk to them about ways of like bringing that up, and then the student can kind of adjust that so that there's no tension in the home, because that can be hard.
So let's say, for example, you've got a high school age kid and you're helping them with the um, self-directed or online, you're doing the one-on-one with them, and they've got like questions about what they're learning that, they don't understand something. So they have questions, but they don't want to ask their parents, or their parents are busy working. Then they could contact you. Is that something that they can do?
Yeah, depending on the question. I'm not a tutor, so I couldn't help them with specifics like a math problem
Mhm.
type thing. Um, but if they're struggling with something, yeah, their parents aren't home and they're like, I feel overwhelmed. I'm feeling like I can't do this like today or whatever, or there's too much on my plate, then we'll walk through ways to like manage that.
Mhm.
If there are specific problems, I can recommend tutors. I have lots of friends who are tutors and they're really good. So I can do that as for like specific questions. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but
Yeah. Well, it sounds kind of like, you're helping them to figure out how to find the answers to the questions themselves. So like if they don't know an answer, they don't necessarily have to go to their parent to ask for assistance, but they can start to think, well, where can I find other resources to help me figure out that answer? And like you said, you know yourself, like you had to find, like, how, when you were doing your own learning, how did you help yourself answer questions that you didn't understand? What were some steps that you took?
well, first off, the internet is the greatest tool there is out there. So I use that. I honestly went through all of my high school with just like one tutor for one course. Everything else I taught myself. There's many people out there teaching things like professionals who are doing podcasts or people who have YouTube videos loaded for very specific like things that if you have a question, you can find the answer.
Mhm.
And so that's something I think that I also work with my students about is I always try to tell them like, yeah, don't go to your parents right away, like teach yourself. Like students, like children in general, I think if they want to learn something, let's say it's like a video game, they're gonna learn it. They're not gonna ask their parents how to teach them how to play, right? So we can find the answer. The matter is just if you feel capable enough and if you are interested in it. Because if you
Mhm.
are interested in something, you're gonna want to learn about it. So I try to make sure that first off the students are interested in it. But I think that finding your answers, they're out there. You just have to look a little bit and get better at it slowly over time. So it's like a skill, it's a muscle you have to use. Finding answers to things you don't know.
Mhm.
And you have to be willing to look for a little bit too. Like if it's a biology question, it might take a little longer. You might have to read a couple articles, but the answer is there. You just have to look for it a little longer.
Cool. So
Yeah.
so let's switch over to the group offerings. So you were talking about creating community, getting kids together so they can help each other. So what kind of things do you have in place currently to offer to groups of kids?
Yeah, so currently I am working, as I said, on a beta project. So I'm
Mhm.
doing the coaching and then the community aspect I'm moving into more so hopefully in the new year. Where I'm gonna do a free option for students who are in online school or homeschooled. And yeah, they can email me and we can set them up with a group. And it's all gonna be organized through Mighty Networks. So there's going to be like live forums and all of those things. We're going to have like group meetings and there'll be open study times. So another thing as well is that there's there's study things on the internet where people can like log in and it hooks them up with like 15 other people and they study.
Mhm.
But I think there's ways that you can do that where I'll have open study time. So like an open Zoom link and they can join for like 3 hours and they can just study and they don't need to talk or anything, but it just helps you stay more accountable and it helps you focus better. So it's like working in an environment with other people, but you don't really need to necessarily be talking at all. So I'll have options like that on certain days, as well as we'll have morning meetings. So they can come if they want, they absolutely don't have to, but it's a meeting just to go over the day and what they want to accomplish. So the goal with the group one is to build confidence eventually for the students to be able to start their own groups. Because I think as you go further on in life, you won't have someone who's able to create those groups for you. You'll have to look for them and find them yourselves. So in the beginning, we'll just work on getting comfortable talking on camera to each other and like building relationships through an online platform and communicating with each other. Then after that, we'll slowly work towards if students want to build their own book club, then they'll talk to me and we'll set it up and yeah, so we'll go about that way. And then we'll have like live movie nights so we can watch movies and just hang out and stuff. So yeah, my goal with that is just to create a connection place for students to not feel alone. And I think that that will have many benefits because not only that, but they'll also have friends after they join too. So that's something I'm working on for the new year. And then I'm just doing a beta project. So yeah, it'll be free for the beginning, and then I'll work further on until I can work out some of the kinks. Because yeah, obviously you have to work through stuff a little bit. So I'm willing to mess up a little bit in the beginning.
Cool. It actually, what you're talking about raises a question for me that I know I've had talking to some parents, and that's kids feeling comfortable in social interactions like in person, because they do spend so much time online that when they actually interact with people in real life, it's quite awkward. So I'm wondering if you have any, if that's something you might integrate into the group thing, something they can take away from the online experience that they can bring into their like life outside of the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to have, I'm still working on all the courses, but we'll have block weeks. So the first week of every month, we'll be talking about one specific thing. And then the second week and the third week and the fourth. And so that's something I want to touch on for a week, is like how to now build connections not online. And so, yeah, that's something I would like to work on for the future, but I totally agree. And I think one thing too with online is when people do online school, often their like their videos are off and their mics are off. So they're not even, yeah, they're not even actually seeing each other. And so that's the first thing I want to address, is like being comfortable actually carrying on conversations. This way, with people with social anxiety, it's probably easier for them to talk online. So building up those skills first, and then being able to go and like try to have connections in person. Because I think also COVID made it really tricky not knowing like how to approach people, even because of the 6 feet rule and the masks. And it was just, I think it kind of created a little bit of fear or wondering how to actually communicate with people so that you weren't afraid of each other.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that'll be interesting. So if people want to get in contact with you, we do have you on the Learning Reimagined Network, and there's a link that people can access. But for anybody just watching this video, where do you recommend that they reach out to you?
Currently, I would say my email, and then yeah, we'll set up a time to chat, and I'll tell them about it, and then I can join them into the mining networks, and they can be a part of the group. So yeah, that's probably the easiest way currently. I'm working on a website, but yeah, as you know, websites take a while. So yeah, so just email for the moment.
Okay, awesome. And so do you, since you're working with high school age kids, what kind of, if you give us like a ballpark age range that you're most like tuned into, and then do you encourage the kids to contact you themselves, or would you rather the parents, or either or?
Yeah, good questions. I like those ones. Okay, so first off, I would say the ages, it varies. My younger sister, she's joining one of my hub groups, and she is skipping a grade, so she's just jumping ahead a little bit, and so she's going to join. But I would say probably from like 14 to graduation, so like 17, around that age range. Yeah, probably around there, just because I think when you start mixing middle school with high school, it can be hard to manage those atmospheres a little bit more. So I am comfortable with the older ages currently. As for if the students or the parents would reach out, either totally can. I would suggest for the meeting that it be the students. And if the parents want to chat with me about any concern that they have or anything they want to bring up, then they totally can through email. But I suggest through online and self-directed studies, like it's very based on the student. So the more initiative the student takes, the better, obviously, because that's what self-directed and online is all about. So I would suggest the student to reach out so that we can have, because that's what we'll be talking to is the student. So the parent can if they want to, and if the student doesn't feel comfortable, then obviously I'd be happy to talk to both. But I would say just the student, because yeah, that's who I'm going to be working with the most.
Sure. Awesome. So, gosh, I just had a question and slipped my mind. I hate when that happens. So let me see, we've got high school age kids. We've got oh, this is what I was going to ask you. With the group hub that the project you're working on developing, um, would you be looking for any assistance from other educators, or are you going to encourage maybe some of the kids that join to take on certain roles later on? Like you were saying, they're going to start their own groups, because that sounds like quite a big project.
It is, yeah. The dream is large.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would eventually hope that, yeah, the first step I would say is just getting students comfortable. I don't want to go too much into future plans because I have quite a few ideas, but obviously until it gets to a certain amount, it's hard to actually build those.
Yes.
But yeah, I would like students to eventually work on taking their own initiative and starting those groups, because I think that builds amazing skills for life, as well as even just in like going into workforce or university or whatever the student decides to go into. Those skills will be really, really helpful. So I'll have other educators possibly come on for like interviews and meetings, and the students can ask questions and stuff. But I would like the students to take more initiative slowly, and they can start to build their own communities. I'm just like a facilitator in those spaces. So I'm giving them the tools to be able to do that and helping facilitate the conversations so that they go smoothly.
Awesome. And the last question I have is, do you have any, or do you consider having any resources or offerings for assisting parents or assisting educators? Like, because I know there's a big shift going on right now with education in general. And there are a lot of kids who are basically, they're either online learning and they've got like, they don't have that same structure anymore. So it is self-guided. Do you have anything, or are you considering having anything to assist parents or educators who are finding themselves making that shift as well?
Not currently. I'm going to be honest. No. I did do some stuff with parents in the past, and it was great, but just because I am young, I feel like sometimes it's a little bit trickier to navigate those relationships. So until I get more, I do think that there is a very valuable place for that though, because obviously there is a shift, and I think that parents are lost too. If parents want to chat with me about anything, like just even being scared about having their kid come to self-directed or online, I'd be happy to like walk them through what that process realistically looks like. Because not every student is going to thrive in an environment where they're doing self-study. Like I'll be honest, not every student will. I think every student can, but it depends on how much they want to actually do that. So I would be happy to talk with the parents about the realisticness of that. But yeah, I don't really think that I have a place talking to parents currently.
Yeah, well, because what your experience, I do think, is valuable as having gone through it yourself. And even like to connect with kids who are currently going in that situation, or to reassure parents that, like you were saying, every kid can do it, but it depends on like their level of interest in doing that. And sometimes they need a little assistance. So yeah, if you do have anything in the future, that would be awesome. But I do think this is a hugely valuable thing for high school age kids to have that kind of the things that you're offering, that assistance, the coaching, the one-on-one and the group offerings. So we are going to put your email in the description for the video. And again, we'll direct people to the Learning ReImagined Network website. There are other resources you can find there as well. If you join for the 1 week for free, you'll get all of our stuff anyways. So you get to check it out. You'll have Alexis's information, which you can find in our category, encouraging independence in young adults, which I think kind of lines up precisely with what you're doing. So yeah, so I want to thank you for joining our network. And I do hope that you get a lot of kids come into you, because you've got a lot to offer.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you doing the interview. It was a fun chat. So I like chatting about this, obviously. I'm passionate about it. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll have you on again in the future, and we can check and see how how your project is going and how it's going with the kids and all of that. So thank you very much.
I would love to do that. Perfect. No, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, take care.
Thank you. You as well.